Hello friends, I am Dr. Amarjeet Kaur. I am Professor of Accounting and Business Communication at Gurugram University. I am heading the Department of Commerce and Management as Dean, and I am working there in the Department of Management as Professor. So, in this half we are going to talk about organizational structures and business communication. The agenda would be to understand how different business structures do affect business communication, right? Because there are different type of business structures which we just discussed a few minutes ago. Now we'll try to link those structures with the communication practices, with the mode of business communication, channels of business communication, levels of business communication, flow of business communication. So how all these aspects of business communication are related with the organizational structure. That's the agenda for the next few minutes. So I expect you to be with me for the next few minutes. So let's understand first of all, what is the purpose of communication in business organization? Why do a business or why does our business communicate? What is the agenda in hand of communicating, right? So first of all, the business wants to disseminate information. It could be routine information, it could be a particular, very peculiar information, very specific information, right? So this dissemination of information could be a notice, about a meeting, a notice about a development, or developing a new product, launching a new product. It could be anything. So it's very essential that a business need to disseminate information on daily basis and on urgent basis, special basis. Okay. Then a business need to motivate its employees, its human capital. Okay, and for that even business communication plays a very important role. A mail coming from a boss to a junior employee commending his job or his work, it really motivates the employee. And how does he get motivated? Because there's a word coming from boss, either orally in the meeting or in writing, or some notice displaying congratulations to XYZ for such a brilliant idea, for bringing a new product or innovation. So that's how we motivate, but we are not able to motivate unless it is communicated to the employee. That employee will not get motivated. That's another objective or the purpose of communication required in the business. To boost morale, sometimes employees are just feeling low because nothing is working. Let's say there's a team working day and night to develop a particular product. There's a deadline. They need to deliver that chip, let's say, within a particular time frame. Every attempt they are making, they are finding some technical flaw in the chip, and they are not able to deliver it. They are kind of losing their faith that they would be able to develop that chip within the time frame given to them. So here is a need to boost their morale, telling them, no, you guys, you can do it, right? Telling them that you have delivered so many products in the past or chips in the past, if we talk particular. So there's a need to boost. How will that morale boosting happen? Unless it is spoken, it is written, it is communicated by eyes, whichever ways, virtually, verbally, non-verbally, in face-to-face, in person, whatever way. But to boost morale of employees during the bad days can happen only if some communication means is used or some communication is used, right? Establishing a model or pattern for communication. I as a business head, I as a president of the company or as a CEO of the company would have some vision. What kind of pattern of communication to be perceived? Like generally, a mail comes 3 days in advance about the meeting, or comes 3 hours in advance. There are organizations which have notice, of few minutes. They say just assemble in 10 minutes at this place. There could be company or a organization where the pattern is that the notice for or communication regarding a meeting comes days in advance, which is practically not that common nowadays, because of such a dynamic world. But it all depends what's the nature of the business, if it works. So what is the pattern of the communication we want to establish? That also is one of the purpose of communication in the business organization, right? A business wants to engage employees, engage in dialogue, engage in discussions. So for that, communication is important. Some communication comes from the bottom, from the top, and somebody responds. So someone responds positively, someone responds negatively. That's how you engage. You get to know the pulse of the employees, the nerve of the employees. How are they feeling about a particular scheme, plan, product, deadline, whatever it could be, right? So unless the HR or some team engages with the employees, they can't understand their requirements. To understand their requirements, their grudges, their good moments, bad moments, whatever, it's important to engage with employees, and that can happen only if there's a communication between employees and the management. Developing employees, training them regarding different products, services, new developments, new technology. So we can't develop our employees unless there's a communication happening between the team who trains, the learning and development department, and employees, right? So that's another purpose of the business communication in any organization. Then we have engaging clients or developing new clients. So business not only need to engage with employees, but it does need to engage with the existing clientele, a customer base, and also to develop new clients. For that, communication is required. We keep on getting mails regarding new products. Even banks are sending you on daily basis mails regarding the product line they have, home loans type, different services they offer across the country, across the world even. So, and then that is to you as existing client. But similar mails with, of course, different language, they are sending to new databases, people who are not actually client as of now, or not customer as of now. So even that is possible through business communication, right? And then business wants to develop a particular image in the society, in the business world, in the government, at the international level. All this is possible through corporate communication only, right? It's not, every company. So we know X company is very good as a service provider. We know Y company is a very good employer. Z company is very good in innovation. Why and how do we know that? Because such kind of image is building up gradually through those small communications which are coming through the corporate communication team, right? So image building is also done through communication in the business organization. And then for times businesses do communicate with the outside world simply for the compliance purposes. Let's say any company publishes its financial statement. That is a legal compliance, that a company needed to publish audited financial statements, and it should be made available to general public on the website or printed material, etc. So that's a legal compliance. That's also a communication. Okay, so we as a business do communicate with the outside world or within our own world for so many reasons which I just discussed. Now, question comes in, how does organizational structure affect, the business communication? So let's take the levels first. There are two levels of organizational structure, intra-organizational communication, and then we have inter-organizational communication. So there are two levels of business communication when it comes to businesses. So in the intra, as the name suggests, within the organization, right? So within the organization, we have communication within the employees of the company. Okay, so how does structure affect? We discussed traditional structure and the modern structure. In the traditional, we have function based, territory based, product based, etc., etc. And in the modern one, we have discussed matrix based, network based, those types of structure, or mixed, it could be mixed one or virtual one. Okay, so if I am doing intra, within the business, it will depend what is my structure. So if my structure is just functional, like there's a president or CEO, then there's a functional head marketing, functional head HR, finance, etc., etc., then we will have in that function we will have further teams. We will have vice president, we have president, vice president, marketing, then we have maybe assistant vice president, we have assistant manager, assistant manager, and like that, supervisor. So the organization structure is actually affecting the communication within the company, within the organization. Had it been matrix, in the matrix organization only it is possible that the communication is happening throughout, across all levels at the same time. A project manager is communicating, is actually reporting to many people at the same time, right? So the communication level or type or structure will be different if the organizational structure is traditional or the modern one. Okay, and same is for inter-organizational communication. The inter-organizational communication is with clients, suppliers, with outside people. So a business communicating to regulatory bodies, to government authorities, to media, to shareholders. Those shareholders are owners, but still, they are not sitting within the company. So businesses do communicate to shareholders as well through notices, through meetings, minutes of the meetings, etc., etc. Okay, so how does the inter-organizational communication gets affected by organizational structure? Let's think about it. So let's say if it is client, right? So had it been functional structure, the organizational structure, the client, first of all, who would be connecting to the client? The person who is in the marketing or sales department, or maybe if the department has especially the service department. Okay, so this is the likelihood. But had it been had it been something else, had it been mixed organization, then maybe a functional head or the product supervisor, anybody can reach out to client, because if I am developing a new product, I want to get feedback, first hand feedback from the clients, and I am product supervisor, right? I am not the functional head, I am not the marketing head, but I am still reaching out to customer to understand their needs. I am modifying the product, existing one, I am developing a new product, right? So in this inter-organizational communication will also be affected by the organizational structure we have. Okay, so I hope you are getting my point. The traditional structure and the modern structure will actually affect how does an organization communicate with the client, with the supplier. The same thing is with the supplier. Had it been a functional, the traditional one, only the purchase team will reach out to suppliers. But had it been a modern one, where matrix structure is followed, so a product head or project head or purchase head can, or a production head can reach out to suppliers, right? So it does affect the communication. It's just not the structure, because structure actually affects the complete working of the organization, including communication, reporting, including performance appraisal. Everything gets affected, because we are just discussing only one aspect of communication. We are not discussing the rest of the aspects I just mentioned, right? So would be regulatory bodies, government authorities, media, right, shareholders. So all these are inter-organizational communication, where it is taking place, and the structure would actually affect the inter-organizational communication with all these parties, or stakeholders. Okay. Now this organizational structure and modes of business communication. So the mode of communication could be formal, could be informal, right? Could be technology enabled, could be technology free. So there are 4 modes I am going to discuss. So the formal communication could be further written or verbal, as we know, could be face to face or meetings, group. So individual, it could be individual face to face or it could be a group meeting, and both of them could be written or verbal. There could be a written communication face to face, you are sitting and you are writing and explaining something, you are just narrating something in person. Same, it could be in a group as well. So formal communication is one mode. How would it get affected with the type of the structure we have? Had it been traditional, then there is a likelihood that is a written formal communication. Had it been structure where the matrix is there or where the virtual is followed or a mixed is followed, then there is a likelihood that formal communication is not much in practice, and most of the time there is a informal communication, verbal or non-verbal, taking place, because in the matrix structure or in the virtual structure or the network structure, the objective is to be innovative, to be developing product or completing projects by working together in a team. So there's kind of flat organization, kind of lean organization, right? So in that organization where the structure is such, informal communication would be more in use, whereas had it been a traditional organization, a formal communication would be more in use. Okay, so we are not discussing the modes in actual, because we may have discussed mode in the past, but we are relating these modes with the structure, organizational structure. Okay, then the technology enabled virtual communication. Now technology enabled virtual communication, there are many modes, like emails are there, video conferences, conferencing is there, Skype is there, virtual meetings, we have so many platforms like Zoom, Google Meets, etc., etc. Okay, so social media applications are nowadays, there are team messaging application in different companies. There are softwares, which are, companies which are actually, they want to keep their innovation secret. There are special platforms, special applications being created, right, for that purpose only. So now how does this technology enabled virtual communication get affected? How this mode of business communication is linked to the organizational structure? Let's think about it. As I said, the functional areas where functional classification is there, there is a likelihood of using all of them, but not much use of team messaging or social media application. There is a likelihood of video conferencing use, email use, Skype, virtual meeting, etc., etc. The technology to this extent is there in the traditional organizational structures. So I am saying the likelihood or majority, right? It's not hard and fast rule. We are discussing to understand. Okay. So whereas if the organization has modern organizational structure, then the modes like social media applications, team messaging application are going to be more in use than just the email, just these technologies, because they all are, whatever I am discussing at this point, they all are technologies, technology based communication. But within this technology based communication, the quantum of use of particular technology based communication would vary from one type of organizational structure to the other type of organizational structure, right? That's the point I am making. And there is a possibility technology free communication. So there are still many countries and many sectors where technology is not much in use, right? So matrix and such organizations where teams are distantly located, they are from different entities. So there's a likelihood those companies are not actually using technology free communication, but companies like where the structure is of functional basis or product basis or geographical area basis, they may still use lesser amount of technology, or they may have completely technology free communication in some part of the world. I'm not talking about developed countries or even in India. Okay, so now most of the organizations, they have technology in place. Okay, so now we will talk about how does flow of communication is how does it connects with business structures. So business structures and the flow of communication. So the direction and the flow of communication depends upon many things. What is the size of the company, structure and philosophy, so that's how the flow will depend. It's not only the structure, so mind you, so that's why I'm putting a lot of emphasis upon it. Size is also some very important factor which will decide how does information flow, the communication flow, bottom to top, top to bottom, all directional, unidirectional. We have so many types or in flow. Okay, so please do remember that I am not ignoring the size of the company, the structure and the philosophy of communication, right? Philosophy of what kind of control or the philosophy or the vision company has, the management has. They all do affect the flow, but we will pay more attention on structure than the size and the philosophy, as this is the agenda of discussion for today. Okay, so multidirectional or multidimensional communication can take place. Okay, so the business structure, as I said, does affect the flow. So downward flow of communication is possible, upward flow of communication is possible, horizontal or lateral flow of communication is there. So these are the types of flow of communication, right? We all know about that. In the past we may have discussed somewhere. There are diagonal or crosswise flow of communication. So let's take them one by one. Downward flow of communication. So the organizations which are following traditional, be it functional, be it product wise, be it market wise, those, or geographical area wise. So there's a possibility they are using downward flow of communication generally. So majority of the communication or major part or content of the communication is from top to bottom. Okay, why? Because the organizational structure is there, such that there is a top person. He has a person reporting to him. Then going down, there is another person reporting to him. So like that. So there is a complete hierarchy of manpower or people working there. So generally, the information goes downward, and it's not that upward information doesn't go in such organization. It does go. Complaints go, resignation goes, reports, the performance reports goes from bottom to top. But this downward flow of communication would be more prevalent in traditional kind of organizational structure than the modern one. The modern organizational structures would have more of free flow, lateral flow, and in the traditional one we will have upward flow as well, because there's quite a possibility that the junior most, the people who are working in the field, be it marketing or sales, they do need to report the sales progress, the project progress, the sales target, the results of a particular meeting. So these all are examples of upward flow, right? So it does take place. It's not that it doesn't take place at all, but the quantum of downward flow of communication would be more than the upward flow of communication, right? Whereas in the matrix, in virtual, in network, all those, modern kind of business structures, organizational structure, there would be more of crosswise communication or lateral flow of communication than only the downward and the upward. Okay, so then coming to the multi-directional or multi-dimensional communication. So this is another point of discussion. So multi-dimension, let's say if it is a organization which is function based. So structure is function based. So what would be the dimension? Only one particular type of function is reported, be it downward or be it upward. But function is one. Marketing team, let's say there's a marketing head, he has marketing manager, assistant manager, and then so on. So, but everything in that communication pertains to marketing function. There's another head which is heading the operation. In that particular communication, what is happening? It is only one dimension, that function. So if it is that company is having the structure of, let's say, geographical area. So dimension would be only the geographical area. So the all communication, be it downward or upward, be it lateral or cross, everything would be regarding the operation, regarding the market function, regarding the geographical area X or Y. So this is how it becomes multi-dimension or just one dimension. So in the traditional organization, there would be only one dimension communication between the one type of function or one type of team. Whereas in the modern organizational structure, the flow of information would be crosswise flow communication, diagonal communication. The same person is talking about product as well as marketing, same person is talking about the technology as well as the application, so what not. So this is how organizational structures, they do affect the flow of the communication, right? So friends, I hope I could explain you how flow of communication, level of communication, mode of communication are connected, are affected by structure of business organization in any business. So with this I will now stop. I hope you had good time and a good learning. Thank you very much.